My father tried to institutionalize my son to protect his elite academy. He had no idea the boy's biological father owned the campus. Liam was sitting on the floor beside my desk in the administrative wing. He is 7 years old. He is completely nonverbal. He was quietly pressing the screen of his AAC communication tablet, matching digital shapes to generate simple audio requests. The volume was set to its lowest output. The heavy mahogany door to the admissions office clicked open. My father walked in. He did not look at me. He stopped exactly 3 feet from my desk. He stared down at Liam. His jaw tightened. "He doesn't align with our institutional standards," my father said. His voice was perfectly level. It was the exact tone he used during quarterly financial reviews. "Transition him out before the board notices the liability." He checked his gold watch. He adjusted the cuff of his tailored suit jacket, turned on his heel, and walked out to attend his country club luncheon. He assumed I would simply comply. I forfeited an $80,000 inheritance to quietly cover a legal settlement for the school. I surrendered my promised faculty housing to his favorite golf partner. I worked 70-hour weeks managing admissions for 30% below the standard market rate. He called it building a legacy. He used that legacy to buy a $120,000 Mercedes G-Wagon through the school's operating budget. If you've ever given everything to someone who was secretly taking you apart, subscribe, because I'm about to show you exactly how to take your power back. The door clicked shut. The air conditioning vent above my desk hummed quietly. I looked down at Liam. He tapped a blue square on his tablet. The device emitted a soft, digitized chime. My father thought that tablet was just a cheap disability aid. He never paid attention to the technical specifications. He never realized the hardware was designed for high-fidelity environmental processing. I stood up from my chair. I locked the office door from the inside. I pulled down the privacy blinds. I sat back down at my terminal. But that was just the baseline of his cruelty. The real threat was sitting in his outbox. I opened the school's administrative server portal. I had built the academy's digital infrastructure 4 years ago to save him the cost of an external IT contractor. I retained master administrator privileges across the entire network. I bypassed his front-end credentials and accessed the back-end Exchange server. I opened his outbox queue. There was a single drafted email sitting in the holding directory, scheduled to send at 5 p.m. The recipient was the Regional Director of Child Protective Services. I opened the attachment. It was a formal psychological evaluation. The header bore the logo of a private psychiatrist on the academy's payroll. The document claimed I was experiencing severe psychotic breaks. It stated I was in immediate physical danger to my dependent. He was forging a medical crisis. He was initiating a legal kidnapping to remove a disabled child from his pristine campus. And he was willing to permanently institutionalize his own daughter to execute it cleanly. The panic faded. Pure survival instinct took over. My heart rate stabilized. The ambient noise of the office faded into absolute silence. I did not cry. I did not confront him. Anger is sloppy. I needed to be surgical. I minimized the email window. I opened my encrypted command terminal. I needed indisputable proof of authorship. A drafted email can be dismissed as a hack. I needed the digital fingerprints. I pulled the localized server logs. I cross-referenced the creation timestamp of the CPS document. I extracted the exact IP address and the MAC address of the originating device. The raw data confirmed the file was authored at 10:14 a.m. on the primary desktop located in the headmaster's suite. His private terminal. I exported the JSON log files onto a secure, encrypted flash drive. Then, I knelt on the floor next to Liam. I gently took the AAC tablet from his hands. The text-to-speech software relies on an active microphone to register environmental prompts and calibrate ambient noise cancellation. It does not just broadcast sound. It buffers and records localized audio in 3-minute loops, storing the data in a hidden system cache. I connected the tablet to my laptop via a USB-C cable. I bypassed the user interface and accessed the root directory. I located the hidden cache folder. I extracted the WAV audio file generated during my father's visit to my office. I opened the file in an audio scrubbing program. I isolated the vocal frequencies and stripped away the background hum of the AC unit. The acoustic playback was completely uncompressed. Transition him out before the board notices the liability. The recording was flawless. Before I show you the exact document that destroyed his entire empire, make sure you hit subscribe. You do not want to miss how this ends. I disconnected the tablet. I handed it back to Liam. I opened the bottom drawer of my desk. I pulled out a blank sheet of Academy letterhead. I wrote a single sentence declaring my immediate resignation. I signed it with a blue pen. I placed the paper in the exact center of my desk. I packed my laptop, took Liam's hand, and walked out of the building. We went back to my small apartment. I did not answer any emails. I did not answer any calls. I spent the evening routing the extracted evidence to a secure offshore server. I slept for exactly 6 hours. The next morning, at 7:15 a.m., a heavy, rhythmic vibration shook the floorboards of my apartment. I looked out the living room window. A fleet of 3 black Cadillac Escalades had just pulled into the narrow parking lot of my complex. The vehicles were immaculate. The windows were deeply tinted. 4 men wearing tailored dark suits and earpieces stepped out of the lead and rear vehicles. They secured the perimeter of the parking lot with cold, professional efficiency. The rear passenger door of the center SUV opened. A well-dressed man stepped onto the pavement. He wore a bespoke charcoal suit. His posture was rigid. His eyes were scanning the building with intense, calculating focus. He walked directly to the front door of my ground floor unit. He did not knock. He simply stood there as one of his bodyguards pressed the doorbell. I opened the door. The man looked down at Liam, who was hiding slightly behind my leg. His expression shattered for a fraction of a second, revealing a deep, terrifying relief, before instantly hardening back into absolute authority. He looked up at me. "Are you the woman who helped my son?" he asked. I nodded. My phone lit up on the kitchen counter behind me. My father's contact name flashed across the screen. He had found the resignation letter. He was calling non-stop. I didn't reach for the phone. I let it ring. The man extended his hand. "My name is Ethan Whitmore," he said. "I believe your father is currently hosting a board meeting on my property." He was not just wealthy, he was the anonymous founder of the hedge fund that owned the Academy's real estate. He had been hunting for his missing son for 2 years. "Let's go," I said. We weren't going to answer my father's calls. We were going to answer his threats in person. We rode in the back of the center Escalade. The interior was silent, insulated by heavy ballistic glass. We arrived at the Academy at exactly 8:30 a.m. The board of directors was scheduled to meet in the executive conference room in the West Wing. The bodyguards flanked us as we walked through the main double doors. The receptionist stood up, her mouth open. But one of the security men simply held up a hand. She sat back down in absolute silence. We walked down the long, mahogany-lined corridor. I could hear my father's voice echoing through the heavy oak doors of the conference room. He was projecting total control. Ethan's security detail pushed the oak doors open simultaneously. The heavy wood slammed against the interior walls. 12 elite board members snapped their heads toward the entrance. My father stood at the head of the long marble table. He was holding a laser pointer. A quarterly financial projection was displayed on the massive digital smartboard behind him. He saw me. His eyes narrowed. "What is the meaning of this?" my father demanded, attempting to maintain his authority in front of his investors. "Security will escort you off this campus immediately." Ethan Whitmore stepped into the room. The 3 wealthiest board members instantly recognized him. They physically recoiled in their leather chairs, the color draining from their faces. "Sit down," Ethan commanded. He did not raise his voice. He simply delivered an absolute directive. My father's posture faltered. He looked at Ethan, then at the bodyguards securing the exit. I did not wait for my father to speak again. I walked directly to the AV control podium at the corner of the marble table. My father tried to step in front of me. One of Ethan's guards stepped smoothly between us, placing a massive hand flat against my father's chest, stopping his momentum instantly. I plugged my encrypted flash drive into the USB port of the podium. I bypassed the presentation software and hijacked the display output. The quarterly financial projection vanished from the massive smartboard. It was replaced by a high-resolution image of the drafted CPS email. The forged psychological report was displayed in terrifying, undeniable clarity. The board members leaned forward, reading the text. I tapped the keyboard. The raw wave audio file began to play through the conference room's high-fidelity surround sound system. My father's voice filled the room, crisp and echoing off the marble. "He doesn't align with our institutional standards. Transition him out before the board notices the liability." I hit the spacebar. The audio stopped. The silence in the room was absolute. It was a heavy, suffocating vacuum. My father physically collapsed inward. He did not shout. He did not try to deny it. The spinal rigidity he used to project power simply dissolved. His shoulders slumped. His skin turned an ashen gray. He stared at the floor, completely stripped of his mask in front of the only people he ever respected. Ethan Whitmore stepped up to the edge of the marble table. "I am freezing the endowment trust and initiating a hostile board takeover," Ethan stated to the room. He looked directly at my father. "You have 10 minutes to clear your desk. If you are on my property in 11 minutes, my security team will physically remove you." The chairman of the board stood up, completely ignoring my father, and frantically offered his hand to Ethan to begin damage control. I unplugged my flash drive. I took Liam's hand. We walked out of the conference room, leaving my father standing alone in the wreckage of his own arrogance. 30 days later, the corporate takeover was complete. My father was permanently blacklisted from every educational institution in the state. He lost the Mercedes. He lost the golf club membership. He lost the respect of his peers. I sit in the living room of our new home. The morning sun warms the hardwood floor. Liam is sitting at a small table, quietly drawing a picture. He is safe. He is protected. He sacrificed his family to build an empire. Now, he has neither. In the next video, a husband hides offshore accounts in his daughter's college fund. He assumed his wife couldn't do the math. He was wrong. If you found this satisfying, subscribe. There are a lot of predators out there, and they all leave a digital footprint.